Hey, how you doing, guys? My name is Mike Stewart. I'm a residential realtor in downtown Vancouver, and I want to just take some time to discuss dates. No, not the dates that you would go on with a person you want to be your significant other. I mean dates in a real estate transaction. So, there are 4 important dates in a real estate transaction. The first one is the acceptance date. Now, the acceptance date is the date on which the buyer and the seller agree to a price for a particular property. On this date, they will also agree to when the buyer moves in, when the buyer pays their money, what's included in the deal, furniture, light fixtures, anything that is in the place that may not be attached, and also what's excluded. So, say for example, that chandelier that you inherited from your grandmother or your grandfather, whatever, you don't want that included in the real estate transaction. You'd agree on this on the acceptance date. So that's date number 1. Okay, so there's 4 dates. Like I said, they have to come in order. Okay, one cannot come before one can't come before the other. So the next date is the subject removal date, and that happens in about 99.9% of deals in this market. A couple of years back with subject-free deals, that may not have happened, but we're not talking about subject-free deals right now. So the next date is the subject removal date. So basically what it is when you get an accepted offer, that offer is subject to various things. So it may be subject to financing, subject to documentation, subject to a building inspection, all that sort of stuff. And usually in the downtown market or in Vancouver West Side market, we give 1 week for that, okay? So very, very important date. On the subject removal date, you basically, as the buyer, if you remove subjects, you say, I am willing to 100% go through with this deal on the next important date, which is the completion date. Okay, so that's date number 3. So date number 3, the buyer basically transfers the money to the seller. The seller gets their money, but their property is also title of the property is also transferred at the land titles office, and that's done by the lawyers. Lawyers are people that you get in contact with before the date completes. You want to do this a couple of weeks before, or if you don't have a couple of weeks, you want to do it as soon as possible. And then the 4th date, date number 4, is the possession date, and that is the date on which the seller gives possession to the buyer. Okay, the completion date, when the buyer pays the seller the money, is not the date the buyer moves in. I want to be very clear on that. The possession date is the date the buyer moves in. So very, very important. And in terms of giving keys are very important to people. The adage that we work on is no cash, no keys. So if the buyer has not completed and the cash is not in the seller's hands, the seller's not going to release the keys. So very, very important. So 4 important dates in a real estate transaction: 1, acceptance date; 2, subject removal date; 3, completion date; 4, possession date. Very, very, very important. If you have any questions about 4 important dates in a real estate transaction, feel free to give me a call. I am always available to answer any of your questions. My number is 604-763-3136, 604-763-3136, or email me, mike@mikestewart.ca, and I'd love to hear from you. Okay, guys, thank you.